Hi, I'm Christy Kate, and we are here to discuss the company's current problem with its vacation policy. We are going to be reviewing the company's current policy, the main problem that the company is having, and the pros and the cons of a traditional method vacation policy, and that the impacts on the policy. Our current vacation policy that we have is that of a paid time off, or what we commonly know as PTO. With this policy, the employees are able to manage their own time. You have your vacation time and your sick time pooled together in one bucket. You have a transparent relationship between the employee and the employer, so the employees really don't feel like they need to come up with a story as to why they're taking vacation time off. There's no real need for the employer to know why the employee's taking time off. If they're sick, it really doesn't matter because it all comes out of the same bucket. The employers only have to keep track of PTO time. There's no need to break it down into separate sick days, vacation days. It all comes out of one bucket. And the employees like to have the flexibility that they currently have with the PTO time. So the main problems that the company currently must face, that we're facing right now, is that the employees are misusing their PTO time. We have the attitude that the employees are going to take it all as soon as they get it. We typically give out our PTO time in one lump sum at the beginning of the year. Our HR has been kind enough to give us some figures for the past couple of years. In 2013, 45% of our employees who had worked for the company for 5 years or less used all of their PTO time by mid-March. This number increased to 56% by 2014. You can imagine how the attendance issues also became a problem as a result of negative PTO balances, and that produced an undue hardship on many of the teammates that were left to cover for those employees. And it also created a problem for management, who had to let some of these employees go because their attendance was so bad, and then they had to replace those employees, and that took time off to train new employees to cover for those spots that they had to fill as well. Then we have a problem of employees saving all of their PTO time for vacation, not taking time off when they were sick and they needed to. They would come to work sick. They would come to work with the flu. That in turn spreads the flu to other members of the staff, and then that would cause massive people being out, and that would put us again behind on our work days, on our workloads, again creating undue hardships on those who were healthy and who were able to come to work. That would make their workloads extremely heavy as well. And then we have those employees who, again, mismanage their time. They fail to save any PTO time for the unexpected, sick children, sick parents, emergency surgeries, and then they did not have time to cover for any of those emergencies that came up. So what would be some pros and cons of changing to a traditional accrual method? The traditional method, believe it or not, has a little bit of extra time given to employees rather than the accrual or the regular PTO method. As of 2014, 50% of organizations still favor the traditional method over the PTO method. In 2002, 71% of companies still use the traditional method. PTO, only 28% of those companies use PTO time. 1% used a different kind of vacation time. as the years went on, PTO did gain some ground. In 2006, 33% companies switched from traditional to a PTO method. 2010, 40%, but as of 2014, it did plateau, and 56% stayed with the traditional method of accruing, and it went back to 41% as PTO and 2% other. Out of the accrual method, 72% of organizations that chose to go with the traditional method did so on an accruing basis. They did so based on how long the employee had been with the company, which is pretty standard for most companies. With this method, it still forces management to keep the vacation and the sick time separate, or if they allow personal days, they have to keep that separate as well. That's one of the drawbacks to changing over to a traditional method, is having to keep up with the differences there. But for the benefits to changing over to a traditional method, it still offers a competitive vacation packages to our employees. You will maintain a separate sick and vacation policy. However, it does encourage those employees to stay at home when they're sick, because they know that they have those sick days that they can use. It makes them feel like they're not taken away from their vacation time. They still have those vacation days that they can use to go have fun, to relax, to regenerate, to do whatever they want to do. They still have a separate sick bucket that they can use for when they're sick, when their children are sick, parents are sick. They can use that time separately and not have to worry about coming to work sick and spreading those germs. We like it when employees like to share things, but that's one thing we don't want them to share is their germs. So we want them to stay home and keep those to themselves. With another benefit with the traditional accrual method, it's going to avoid the use it as soon as you get it attitude, because it is an accrual method. It's not where you get all of your hours lumped in at the first of the year. It's where you gain it as you work. So it's not something that they're going to be able to take all at once. Another plus for the company, you're going to avoid large payouts of unused PTO time at the end of the year. You do have some employees that refuse to take any of their PTO time, so at the end of the year you're going to have large payouts. You're not going to have that with an accrual method. It's also going to save with some of those, hopefully save with some of those attendance dilemmas. There again, they're not going to be able to use all that lump sum PTO at the first of the year because it's going to be accrued as you go. So therefore, you're going to have less attendance problems. So that brings us to a couple of options that we have to choose from when we decide to go to a traditional method. We have option 1 and option 2. With option 1, if you work with a company for less than 1 year, you'll get 12 days of vacation. 1 to 4 years, you'll have 15 days of vacation. 5 to 8 years, you'll have 19 days. 9 to 10 years, you'll get 20 days. 11 to 15 years, you'll have 22 days. 16 to 19 years, you'll have 23 days. 20 and over years, you'll have 25 days. If you're a part-time employees, all this will be at half the rate of above. We believe that taking vacation is important to the health and the well-being of our employees. With option 1, any unused vacation time will be forfeited at the end of the year. It's a use it or lose it policy. If you don't take your vacation time, at the end of the year, you're going to lose it. So we encourage all of our employees to take all of their available vacation time that they earn. Employees will begin accruing their vacation time immediately. If they're employed on January 1st, January 1st is the first day that they'll start accruing time. If they're employed July 22nd, they'll start accruing vacation time. New employees may request vacation time after 90 days of employment. So they'll work 90 days, 91 days if they want to take the vacation time that they started accruing, they can do so. Option 2 is pretty much the same when it comes to the days that they're going to get. As of working less than a year, they'll have the 12 days, 1 to 4, 15 days, and so on and so forth. But with the option 2, they will be able to roll over some days at the end of the year. So if they do not take all of their vacation time at the end of the year, we're going to allow them to roll over 20 days to the following year. It still applies to accruing immediately upon employment. Their hours will still accrue the same. After 90 days, they can still take their vacation if they so choose. But at the end of the year, if they have time left, they will be able to choose to roll over 20 days, up to 20 days, if they have time left over in their PTO, in their vacation time. If they have 5 days left over of their vacation time and they want to roll those 5 days over, they can do so. If, however, the following year they have 25 hours left over, they can only roll over 20. Those remaining 5 hours will be forfeited. So my recommendation for this company would be to change our current PTO policy to a traditional accrual method and to choose option 2. This will eliminate the use it as soon as you get it attitude. It will also limit the number of disciplinary actions due to attendance issues. And with the option 2, it's going to allow those employees who manage their time well to carry over 20 hours of their available PTO time. It will show our appreciation to those employees for their dependability, and we want to let those employees know that we appreciate all they have done for our company and that they are dependable and that we appreciate them, and it lets them know that we recognize that and that we realize that. So that's my recommendation for this company. So in closing statement, we have gone over our current vacation policy, and we have also looked at the main problems that the company is facing, and we have looked over some of the pros and the cons of having a traditional vacation method, the impacts on the company that the changing of the PTO method to traditional method, and we have looked at what my recommendation would be, and that would be to change from our current PTO policy to a traditional accrual method policy and to choose option 2. I think that would be the best route to go for our company at this present time. Thank you for joining me today, and we will see you soon.